Hey, this is Tino from the Cryptics, and you're listening to Rhino Radio.
So today, through the magic of the internet and some help from Tino himself, I have the honor of spending some time with Tino of the Cryptics. How you doing, mate?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm very good. Keeping safe, washing your hands?
Oh, just a bit too much. Yes.
Okay, we're not going to go into details, but before we even start, let's start with the business side. Continuous New Behavior was released at the end of January, but you were planning on celebrating all through, I think, 3 months on the road, and about a third in, our pesky neighbor Rona affected your plans. So how are you dealing with that?
Very well said. Yeah, we had 3 months planned in the U.S. plus another short run planned in the U.S. plus another overseas run planned. We were on the middle of the tour. We completed month 1 out of the 3 months in the U.S. And by the time we were finished the first month, I mean, the shows started getting smaller and smaller, and people were afraid to go out. And it got to the point where we had lost the next almost 2 weeks of shows, and we're just like, states were about to shut down. So we ended up driving straight home from California to back to New Hampshire, which is about 3,500 miles or so. And we didn't stop except for gas. We just kept switching, and it took a couple days. But yeah, we got back, and it just sucks. You know how it is. I mean, there's so much time and effort went into to booking all those shows, and so much, we advertised all the shows, and it was just, I don't know, it's a huge setback. Not a lot. And of course, as you mentioned too, the record, like, we're promoting that record, we were touring out that record, and now this throws a whole mess into the situation, because we don't know when the hell we're going to be able to get back out there. Is the biggest thing. And if we're not out there again till next year or something, we're not going to be touring. We're going to wait and continue touring out this record. We're going to be on to the next thing. So it's a mess.
So obviously it's affecting fans and humans on kind of in the same way. But how are you keeping positive when you know that your life is just put on hold for now?
Well, it is detrimental. It's very detrimental to the touring side of things, which really sucks. However, on all the other side of things, in terms of, recording, prepping, demoing, all that stuff, as far as that stuff goes, I can look at this in a positive manner and treat it, more or less just like a blessing of time to be able to work on future endeavors. So I am busy as hell right now. Like I don't really understand how some people say they have nothing to do. You got to be crazy. There's I've been demoing out stuff that we're doing up next. We're already recording the next record. We're deep into recording the next record. We're staying super productive. So that way, when the time comes that we are able to get back to the road, we're going to come back on fire and right on track and ahead of the game instead of behind the game. We're planning music videos. We're getting ready to shoot a bunch of that stuff over the next couple of months. We got a lot of studios. I mean, we got everything besides touring and practicing, because we're not practicing because we want to kind of stay away from each other for right now. But everything besides those two things is in full effect and going very, very swiftly.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you guys are keeping busy, and maybe that means they can expect more great stuff from your band once we're free to go outside. But I want to touch on something that you've already mentioned and connect it to my favorite track of the album, Killing Time, about people that just enjoy not doing anything. So how do you deal with the new reality to many that you commented about, just being stuck in front of black mirrors, just enjoying doing nothing, and now that's our new reality, almost the only thing we can do? So are you upset that maybe you started it?
Yeah, Time to Kill Time is kind of about exactly that. I mean, everybody's wired differently, and I fully understand that my mentality is not everybody's mentality. But to me, before this pandemic, before this pandemic and during this pandemic especially, it really brings exactly that song's subject to light. It's like, I don't understand how an adult human can be bored. I don't get it. I mean, unless you have some sort of ailment, unless you're like, have something really awful going on, then I really sympathize with those people and all that. But if you are a well off normal person, you can do anything you want, man. Like, come on, and for people, especially in this, and that's just in general, but especially in this situation where most people are off work and this and that, like, having nothing to do is like laughable. Like, okay, if you're an artist of any type, hello, create. Like, now is your time, whether a musician or you have an Etsy store, whatever the hell it is you do. Like, now's your time to get ahead, like, work on your passion. Like, that's what you do, isn't it? And for people that aren't artistic, that are just, the normal, working person, like, yo, get shit done around the house you've been meaning to do forever. Like do everything you're like, oh, I'll get to that eventually. Like, now is that eventually. Like, work on that. You've got time. Like, get ahead. Like, clean out that room, clean out that closet, do whatever you were gonna do to the yard, build that addition. I don't know. Make use of your time, because you're gonna regret it if you don't. And that's kind of my take on that.
Yeah, I'm guessing we're still going to find some people that after we're liberated again, they're still going to say, oh, I didn't do this and that. So now is the time to do all those tiny things. And I'm going to take you to something that I kind of caught between the lines on your personal page. Why are you hating on live home streams?
To me, because, like, I don't know, man. Like, I can just see, like, some of it is cool, and like, but some of it is just like, there's so much phoniness behind it. Like, I get it, like, people are trying and whatever, but I mean, for one, like, you're never gonna recreate the energy of a live show. Never. You're like watching. I can watch Bad Religion play the Gray Race front to back right now on live streaming, and it's gonna mean 5% to me what it means is if I saw it at a venue. It just is what it is. But I get it. It's something. Like, I don't dog on, like, well, I do dog on people for doing it, but like, I get why they do it. But for me, the biggest kick on that was, like, ever since this thing happened, dude, like, and I'm not even the type of person that, like, aggressively scrolls news feeds. Like, I see, like, a few things, but I don't see much. Everyone who has ever heard the word guitar is just, like, streaming. Like, it's my whole news feed for, like, the past, like, couple months, and it's laughable. It's like, oh my god, like, I could not give less of a shit. Like, I don't watch any of them. The only one that I have actually watched once was a band that I absolutely love, the Zounds from the UK. They like Steve did, a couple songs I like acoustic, and I guess it's kind of cool, but I don't know, man. I wouldn't do it. I think overall it's kind of super lame. It's just, there's no energy. You can't recreate the energy of a show, and it's just kind of, I don't know, man. It's just kind of phony. Like, I don't know. It's not my thing. It's not for me. But hey, if it's for you, hell yeah.
So from those powerful words, and I don't mean to pigeonhole, but I think the band is kind of along the punk lines. Do you still believe that punk has a place in the world for change demand?
I would say so, depending on what it is. I mean, it really depends on what it is. I mean,
Does it mean you don't believe that the change will happen, or you don't believe that punk is that kind of role?
It's a very good question. I believe that the legitimacy of bands that actually want change and fight for change are very, very small. I mean, you've got bands that have the image of advocating for that, like Discharge or Conflict or something like that. But, like, those guys are just touring around, they're just like everyone else. They just, they want to make money, and they're selling their sweatshop gear and this and that. And, that, dude, that's fine. My favorite bands do the same fucking thing. Everyone's got to eat. I get it. But I'm just saying, it's like, I think that, like, the message of rebellion and like the action of rebellion in most bands are two very different things. And I've seen more aggressive moves out of a band like Chumbawamba or something versus a band like, I don't know, like Conflict or Drop Dead or something like that, like, they speak good words, but I mean, it's like, you roll up to the merch table and shit's made in Vietnam and Kenya and like Nicaragua. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, it's like, and dude, I get it. Like we all got flaws. Like I got flaws out the ass. Like I'm not perfect, and I love all those bands that I just talked about. So, maybe I should just shut the fuck up here. But I'm just saying, like that there's a message of rebellion that's going to be in punk always. But as far as who carries it out, I think it's very slim. And I think the bands that are the most radical don't get a lot of attention and are very few and far between. I think bands that even think they are radical are not radical. I mean, if you're, there's a lot of that going on. Like if you think your band is radical because you write poorly recorded 35-second thrash songs about good topics, like whatever's going on, but your band smokes cigarettes and buys meat and has sweatshop gear, I mean, then you're kind of no different than anyone else. And that's my whole point, is like that's like 99% of bands, like, and like the 1% of bands that aren't doing that, it's like shit's few and far between, man. So I think there's a big separation between that, but I still think there is a message in it to be said, and I think that's never going to die. I just don't know how legitimate a lot is going on right now, and I am sorry for that long ass answer.
No, I love that. I love how you connect it to the kind of personal is political as well. So it's all about choices and finding your spot, and also
Right.
kind of leading me to my next question about the price of speaking up. Have you ever stopped and said, maybe I've said too much, or thought about losing people, losing other items or your worth or anything, just because you spoke your mind and fought for something?
Yeah. I'm hitting that point. I'm not hitting that point with this band, but I have a solo project that it's definitely more, there's more political involvement with the lyrics, and I'm definitely pushing more boundaries with that on the upcoming release I'm gonna have now sometime next year. And I do get to that point when I'm writing lyrics, I'm like, is this too much? Like, is this too far? Because you don't want to give people the impression that like you hate everyone that doesn't believe what you do, because that's straight up like Nazi shit. Like I'm not about that at all. Like it's tough. It's really tough to like neutrally and calmly convey your point of view without seeming extreme and like warding people off. So there's a happy medium, and yes, I think it's very difficult, and like at times I'm like, ooh, like how far do I go with this?
And I want to ask about I think it's one of the most recent projects with Soul Yagged. I believe he is a jazz legend, which is not something that usually matches the punk scene. I was wondering, from that unconventional project and the unconventional collision of personas, is there anything specific that you learned and implied in your life and music from Soul?
Yeah, I mean, just knowing him, it was more of a feeling that I absorbed from him than facts. It was like just knowing him and learning what he did every day of his life and whatnot, which was play clarinet. I mean, it really proved to me there are die-hard lifers that straight up don't stop until they die, and he was one of them. And that's kind of what I learned, that like music really trains the brain and flexes the brain, and is a really healthy thing for people of all ages to do. And it gave me hope, because I mean, I was like, if this guy is 95 and he is cool enough to be like, hell yes, I want to record a new record, I mean, There's nothing. That's the coolest thing I've ever heard. Like that's if what more could I aspire to want to be like? And that's kind of what I learned from him and Harry Shepard, the vibraphone player who's also on that, who also played with Saul. He's he's the last of an old those super old timers. I mean, he's the last of their breed. So that's kind of what I got from them. And it was just a really cool experience.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you've enjoyed this in your lifetime. Sounds like a great experience. And before we say goodbye, I want to confront you with the rumor that I found online. I'm guessing it was inspired due to your strong lyrics, but your fans and people that are familiar with the band are scared or even waiting for that to happen, that you guys are going to leave us and start a new community of rebels in the Rockies. Is this happening?
I don't really know what that means.
Maybe we disappointed you and you just want to start on a clean slate and just make your own rules, not be disappointed by anyone else. No SWAT shops, anything like that. Is that true? You're starting your own community or accepting members as well?
I don't. This sounds very scary. I will not be starting my own community anytime soon.
I thought it was scary because we found out your true plans.
See, you got my blueprint. So now what I'm gonna have to do is I gotta switch up my plans.
So is it true or not? Can we expect a new Cryptics community?
Of course. I mean, always expect a growing Cryptics community.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that. I'll make my plans on joining. I'll submit my unofficial request to join. But before we actually say goodbye, is there anything else you want to add to fans and listeners between the ones that have experienced continuous new behavior and the ones that have not?
Yeah, I mean, check out the record if you haven't yet. I'm assuming anyone is hearing this right now has not heard the record. So what a great time to do so. You might have the time to do so right now. So check it out, and we will be back out and around the world whenever we are told we can.
Well, Tino of the Cryptics, thank you very much for your time.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.